Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is.
I am the Reverend Dr. Crimsoniculus.
I know, isn't that weird, guys? Pat's not here this week. It's been a it's been a while since I've had to co-host with someone else. But I'm glad you're here. Now, you guys may recognize this voice from our Church of the Subgenius episode. This is our precious Reverend who is going to make sure that we all get our pleasure crafts as long as we give our $35.
Well, that's definitely true. However, today I'm actually here to talk about another topic, but we'll get into that once the episode really gets rolling.
Sure, sure. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a fun one. I really like getting into these types of topics. We've kind of been doing more of an internet mysteries kind of series for the month of February. It wasn't really on purpose, but things just kind of worked out that way. And I think that some of these stories will be kind of a great end to, the whole internet stuff, especially because some of them are really heavy in the internet. But I did have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. So, are you familiar at all with the Tasmanian tiger? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, the extinct Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, the thylacine. I'm terrible. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. So this guy named Neil Waters, who is the president of the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, has come out and he made this kind of not cryptic YouTube video, but he made a YouTube video saying that they got really great photographic evidence of the thylacine, and said that the photos were being sent to a museum for them to review, and if they were proven to be legitimate, then they would take them off of the extinction list and put them hopefully then on the endangered species list. So as of right now, this is all this is all actually kind of breaking news because um some people believe that the museum has come out and said that these are not actually of a thylacine, but then there's people saying that you really can't say that they're not. The pictures haven't been released yet, so we're still waiting to see what those pictures look like. Um, but I mean, would picture evidence? I mean, would that really be enough for us to classify an animal species? I don't think so. I mean, if that were the case, you'd think that Bigfoot would be classified due to the Patterson Gimlin footage because, what
Well,
the hell else is it?
I mean, technically that's true, but we also have this little thing that's called Photoshop. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
very true.
you know,
Now we do. Yes, now we do.
right.
They're saying that and I'm probably saying the name wrong, but they're saying that the photographs are actually of patamelons, paid melons, patamelons. They're
Some
like,
very close relative then.
well, I mean, yes and no. They're marsupials, and they say that the Tasmanian tigers are marsupial as well. But they don't look. If you look these things up, they don't look anything alike. I mean, for one, the Tasmanian tiger's got stripes, and this thing does not, and they're very much different sizes. They're just very different creatures, and I can't see how you could mistake that for that. But who knows? So, I don't know. I don't know what we'll see here. Now, the guy has previously released images that he has claimed are, the thylacine, and they haven't been. So, is he just looking for attention? Is he jumping the gun and getting too excited about, things that we already know is out there? I don't know, but either way, I mean, I think these things are still out there. I think that I've seen enough pictures, which I mean, I'll be more than happy to share with everybody, that are very obvious to me that that they're the Tasmanian tiger. And it's just more than likely they're just such a small population that they're easy to miss. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But speaking of these extinct creatures, we also we cloned the black-footed ferret this week. I don't know if you
Oh,
saw that.
I had heard about that. It's the cutest little
Yeah,
clone I've ever
it
seen.
is. I don't know. Dolly was pretty cute too.
Well, okay.
She was pretty cool. But yeah, so now we're starting to open that can of worms back up, and of course, the question of ethics come into play here. Do we continue to clone and bring these creatures back, or do we just let sleeping dogs lie, or I guess dead dogs lie, and just leave them alone? I mean, that's another that's just a whole nother. I know and on this show, I know we've covered it before. Ethical. We've covered cloning and things like that. But I don't know. It's hard because you look at the ferret, and yeah, of course he's adorable. So yeah, I'm happy to have him back. But um, do we just let the Earth adjust with him not being here anymore? Or, is that possible? I don't know. I don't know. So
Well, I mean, honestly, if you clone it, it's just technically it's another one of that thing. In this case, it happens to be a ferret. I
yeah.
mean, and it's not going to have the exact same experiences as the previous ferret did. So,
Mm,
it's going to become its own thing. I
yeah.
don't feel like there's anything wrong with cloning per se, so long as you aren't expecting it to be the exact same thing after you've cloned it.
Well, right, and I think the big issue comes into play when you're talking about, cloning things that have been extinct for many, many, many years, to where our ecosystem has now recovered from that extinction, and we've kind of moved on to cloning endangered species so that their species doesn't die out, to offset the fact that we could, topple our ecosystem without them. So I think that is really important. I mean, we've all seen Jurassic Park. We know that.
The John Hammond effect. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. We
Life
all
it
know.
finds a way.
Right? We're too busy figuring out if we, could. We never stop to think if we should. So, I guess the question now is, should we? That's. I think that would be fun if you guys
And
want
I
to
think
chime
the
in on
answer to that question, the question of should we, the answer is how much money you got.
that.
Because if you got enough money, then sure we should.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, I mean,
This is why pets
yeah.
get their. This is why celebrities get their pets cloned and shit.
Oh my
Us normal people, we have to go out and find another animal. But it's like I really liked this dog. Well, it's not going to be the same dog. I mean, yeah, sure, genetically it'll be exactly the same, but it's
Sure.
going to have a different life. Come on now.
Well, that's that nature versus nurture. That's
Well, for sure. But that
you
is a topic for another day as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so, that was fun. And then also, I was telling you earlier before the show started, this has been a big week. Um Scientists found a way, not found a way, but they discovered direct communication, active communication to lucid dreamers. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so they've been doing this study on lucid dreamers for a while, and they have like a mix of people. Some people who are, claim to be, experts, pros at lucid dreaming, some that want to lucid dream more, and, so on and so forth. So what they did was they took them all for a nap and put them down and said, hey, once you're in the dream and you're aware that you're in the dream, give us this left to right eye movement, and then we'll know that you're communicating with us, and then we'll communicate back with you, and we'll do experiments and see if we can communicate back and forth. And they did, and they successfully were able to communicate with people that were dreaming, and that
Neat.
even though they were in their dreams, they were able to communicate back to the scientist.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Is dreaming and just sleeping in general is fucking weird. Sleeping's weird. Like it kind of sucks that we have to sleep. Because you just, I mean, for roughly 8 hours a night, we lay down and play dead, and we just.
Well, think of it just as like you're resetting after a day. It's been a long day. You went through some crazy shit today. Go ahead, reward yourself with doing nothing for 8 hours.
Absolutely nothing, right? And then while you're doing nothing, though, sometimes you get these. I guess your brain gets bored. I don't, we don't really know why we dream or what that's about, or what it does. But then we've talked about lucid dreaming. Has been one of those things that a lot of people claim that they can do. Well, apparently they can. Apparently, a lot of people can do it, and apparently, when they do it, they can communicate, depending on what it is. So I don't know. You ever seen? There was that God, what was it called? There's that show on Adult Swim that's about dreaming. Have you seen? I think it's called
Oh,
Dream.
Dream Corp LLC. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and it's weird, and they like
Stare
fix
at the
your
guy with the spinning sign. Yeah.
yeah, they like fix your issues by going into your dreams and doing it that way because your subconscious, I guess, is more is open when you're dreaming, and so, but they I mean that could very well be a thing of the future if we're starting to realize that we can communicate from the outside world to these people. So
Hmm.
that's I thought that that was a lot of fun, but moving on. I'm excited. This week's episode, we are finally going to talk about. We're going to talk about time travel.
But
And
bum.
ooh, I'm excited. It's it's one of those things that I don't know. I think time travel has become kind of boring to a lot of people. I guess we just haven't gotten there yet, or at least we believe we haven't gotten there yet. And I think it's one of those like unreachable things to that's not really attainable to us, it seems, and maybe it's not. It might not ever be something that we could do because it might not be something we understand. I shared a video earlier today, which I don't believe you saw because I'm actually in Facebook jail and I can't post anything on Facebook still for like another week. And
Oh no.
yeah, I got in trouble for something just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, so I shared this video because I showed it to my daughter and I wanted to show her the scale of the universe and how completely insignificant we really are
Oh, for
compared
sure.
to everything. We've all seen that. And so I showed her this video and blew her fucking mind. And and so, when you really look at, again, at the scale of things, there's just some sciences that our species will probably die before we ever reach it. And time travel just might be one of those things. And time travel kind of holds hands with space travel. And so, if we were able to perfect, one of the theories is that if we could perfect time travel, then we could go anywhere we want to in the universe.
Well, and actually, you talking about how space travel and time travel are linked. One of the things NASA's actually figured out, there's one of their the people that they sent up, Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard, had spent enough time up in space that he's actually 2/10 of a second younger than he should be if he was on Earth his whole life.
Isn't that wild how that works?
Yeah, just being far enough away from mass
Yeah.
causes you to not experience time the same way. It's a crazy,
It's
crazy,
insane.
crazy thing.
It really is. And, a lot of these concepts are, almost beyond our own comprehension. It really is. Just like watching this video, it gets to a point to where like the scale grows so large that you're talking numbers and figures and things that we can't understand,
Well, for sure.
and we're just not. Our brains just aren't made to, I guess. Who knows when humans were invented or whatever it was that happened. If we ever thought that we would even make it to this point. So maybe we're all sitting around shocked that we're even still here. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's another crazy concept. A really good, piece of media, which is, really popular. I'm sure you've seen, a lot of people have seen it, to check out, that explains the way that time and space works, is Interstellar, the movie Interstellar. Have you seen
Oh,
it? Did you watch that one with
that's the.
Matthew McConaughey?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I pushed the book.
Yeah.
I pushed the book. Do you
They
see
asked him
me?
to go to
Do you
space.
see me? I pushed the book.
They asked him to go to space, and he said, "All right, all right, all right."
He sure did.
And he went.
Yeah,
And
oh my gosh. You know what I love about time travel? I can't even say I can't even make that joke work because it's too time related. And it's too early. It's too early. I haven't even gotten into it yet. Let's try this again. Wait. You know what I love about time travel? I can stay the same age and all those girls keep getting younger. Wait.
Wait.
No, well, no,
Oh.
because the line was pretty creepy to begin with, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy.
Yeah, he was. But no, Interstellar's it's a great example of of how everything works. And even like, I really enjoyed that they did, they pushed the limit and they went as far as like approaching the fourth dimension and things like
Hmm.
that. And
Hmm.
so but it explains things in a way that you can understand. So like he leaves Earth and then eventually he comes back to Earth, and he never got any older. But his daughter did. She was like on her deathbed dying, and
Hmm.
she was like a little girl, so it does explain like how time and stuff, in a way that you can bite off and chew. And so that's a really good, without going through all the textbooks and all the fun stuff and things like that if you're not super nerdy. So or, or just really into this stuff, because it is difficult. Your brain starts, I know when I get into researching this stuff, I it's it can be very overwhelming, and sometimes you have to kind of take a break and kind of like really absorb what the fuck you just read.
Well, I mean, the thing is when you're talking about yesterday like it's tomorrow, yeah, you do sometimes have to take a break.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. It's interesting, and it can be a lot. And then on top of that, it's just that most of it is just theories. And then that is when you really, you start to understand that we really just don't even have a handle on this stuff at all. And
Well,
so,
the normal people on this earth have no concept of all, of
no,
course. Now,
not at all.
see, I've been in touch with Reverend Ivan Stang and the ghost of J.R. Bob Dobbs. I'm
Oh,
allowed today, and today only, to offer you a few of the secrets of
ooh,
time travel from the Church of the Subgenius.
oh my gosh, we are in for a treat.
That is 100% correct. I will teach you how to travel through time, how to not deal or deal with your future or past self at the same time. And we will also go through a couple of different paradoxes that you may have to run into when you're inevitably running through time.
Okay, so warning. The On Wednesdays We Talk Weird podcast is not responsible for head explosions. We're not responsible for mass confusion. We're not
Uh,
responsible
Temporal side effects
temporal side effects.
resulting
Yes,
from attempted time travel, of
correct,
course. Yep.
correct. Yeah, right. We're not socio-economical effects of time travel, and anything else that might hurt, burn, or otherwise leave a scar. So, with that said,
Of course.
with that said, yeah, let's get into a little bit. What should we talk about? Should we talk about the alleged time travelers, or should we talk about the
Well, I think
crazy fun
that
stuff?
we could go into the people first, yeah, and then we'll kind of backtrack and kind of fall into the different things about time travel.
Okay,
So,
yeah, sure.
we were talking a little bit before we got on about John Titor.
Yeah, yeah, and he's probably the most well known alleged time traveler that there is. So I was kind of looking into it a bit. Now he appeared on the on a couple of message boards on the internet. This is kind of where the internet mysteries thing comes in. Um, I
Yeah, it was
think that
around 2000
yeah,
was
it
when he
was.
started posting.
Yeah, it was very early, and he got on. I can't. It was like a time traveler forum, I believe, and then it was also the Coast to Coast AM forum
Yep, coast to coast
online,
AM frame. Yep.
and said that he was from the year 2036, which that's not that far now.
I mean, like I
Like
said,
50
we're going to
years.
be humans are really good at figuring things out. And once, they get their hands on technology, and that's really all it is they haven't gotten their hands on time travel technology
Yeah,
yet.
right.
And the cool thing about time travel, when do we want it? It's inevitable.
Well, that's true. Well, but it's like so just for a second, going, I guess before we get into the time traveling people, you know, isn't that's kind of a paradox, isn't it? I mean, if we have time travel in the future, then obviously we have time travelers here right now.
Well, for sure. Technically, that's the whole point. If at any point during a timeline time travel is invented, then at that point, any point forward or backward that the time machine itself goes to now officially has time travel. And
Right.
as such is now bending the laws of time and space just to suit the time traveler and their whatever their conveyance is that'll get
Right.
them there, whether it be uh, police box, the stately um, uh, portal option,
Sure.
the less well-known hot tub, or the yes, the car-based.
The car, yes.
Yes, normally, one of the more fun ways of going about it is definitely
I hope
cars,
it's
in
a
my
hot
opinion.
tub. That would be ideal for me. I think that would I would enjoy that very much. And I hope that maybe one day I'm just at a random Airbnb doing my Mothman research, and I happen to they have a hot tub, and I get in it, and all of a sudden I'm somewhere else. Um,
It'd be nice.
it'd be nice, right? So, so yeah, so in our time, if we if we don't discover time travel, this is really hard to do without like pictures. I talk with my hands. I'm Italian, so I do that. If we don't discover time travel in our lifetime, then we would not have these alleged time travelers at all.
Correct.
So right, which is possible because infinite world, infinite possibility. So there's allegedly there's all these different lines through space and time and all this and that. So just the fact that we have these alleged time travelers proves that we probably do at some point in our lifetime discover time travel.
Correct.
So
That's exactly how it works.
so
If
that's
you have ever seen a time traveler or a time travel device, that means time travel will have been invented and therefore already exists.
right, exactly. Even if it's not right now, it is right now, kind of. And
Exactly.
so, it just depends. I mean, we're probably not going to get a lot of time travelers from like, the year 2020 and 2021. Nobody wants to be here during this
Oh,
shit.
actually, time travel to the year 2020 has been strictly forbidden by the Quantum Association. Please
I
don't tell your friends.
just keep that under wraps. That's just for you guys. But I believe that. So that makes a lot of sense. Probably at least for the next 5 years, I would imagine.
Well, yeah. Once you're forward enough in time and have actually gotten the COVID-19 and COVID-20 and
Sure.
COVID-23
COVID 50.
booster packs or booster shots, then you don't have to worry about it. Then you can come back to 2020. But as a general rule of thumb, just don't go to 2020.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. There was already enough shit going on. That's probably what happened, honestly, is that somebody violated the rules. They went back to 2020. All this shit happened, and here we are. So
Yeah,
that's,
and then the Quantum Association came back and had to fix everything. You
yeah.
remember there was like 7 minutes where there were like giant bees everywhere? But
Yes.
only for 7 minutes and only on that one day in July. It's really weird.
Or how about the monoliths? I mean, come on. That's obviously, come on.
Well, I did actually appreciate those monoliths. They were very artistically done. That's
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, that was a fun time.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
was a fun month. It's been a weird year. So yeah,
Hmm.
so in different points in time, most likely during events, well, probably during like events where we seem to have a lot going on in the world. Time travelers probably do not go to that time because of the risk of influencing decisions and things like
Oh
that.
well, see, that entirely depends on which universe theory you prescribe to.
That's
There's
true.
actually a couple of different thoughts about the solutions of time travel. So this is actually pretty cool. There's four basic theories. You've got the self-healing hypothesis, which is basically it doesn't matter what you do. Time is more of a malleable thing. So if you actually go back and shoot Hitler, then well, okay, maybe it wasn't Hitler, and well, even if he got it at just the right time and totally screwed up, stopped World War II from happening, everything would eventually kind of come back into where it's supposed to be. You know,
Well, yeah, that's very true.
and then you have the multiverse hypothesis, which is just it's not that you're going back in time, but because space is so infinitely big, you're literally just going to another part of the universe where everything that happened up to the point that you're traveling to in time is happening, but hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's okay. That makes sense. Well, and kind of, with with the case of John Teeter, well, we'll kind of get into more of that because he had a lot of predictions of about, well, not predictions. I mean, he said that these things happened and then they didn't happen here.
Well,
So,
and arguably, he came back, he got his message out there, and they didn't happen. So technically,
well, that's
this could
true.
fall under the third type, the erased timeline hypothesis, which is basically, oops, I fucked everything up, and now everything's changed, and I'm just somebody stuck out of time. Which
Yeah.
is my personal favorite because that one has the largest possibility for failure of an epic class when you
Yeah, that
fuck
would
things up.
suck. So getting back into the details of who this guy was,
Yeah,
so he's posting on these message boards. He's saying he's from the year 2036, and he's come back for an IBM 5100 computer.
which is a very oddly specific computer.
It is, yeah, and it was what, made in like the 70s or something.
Mid to late 70s, if I remember correctly. I don't have the stats on a 5100 up right in front of me, but
Sure. And you're not running on your 5100 right now? Jeez, I thought you
well, I
were.
mean, I've got it in my time machine, okay?
Sure.
Like I
Well,
said.
yeah, because
And
you need that, right,
well,
for your
for
time.
sure, because once I'm done with this episode, I actually have to go back in time. I found out that what you just said earlier in the episode that apparently this is my second time on. I was positive that this is my first time. So I have to go
Oh,
back in time and
yeah.
then host with you again. What episode was that? Do you remember off the top of your head? Or do I
No,
actually have to go look it up?
no, that was the we discussed the Church of the Subgenius and
Right. Okay. Well,
the
then
pleasure crafts and
I'll make sure I go do that next as soon as
yeah,
I'm done with
please do
this
that for
episode.
us. Yes, people need to know that they can have their salvation for so cheap. I mean, it's such a good price.
Right. And I mean, it's such a good thing. I actually have to go back in time to tell people about it because, we're not telling people fast enough as it is.
That's
So we
true.
actually have to go forward and backward in time to kind of get people back into the fold as of, just before July 5th, 1998, so that we can get our pleasure saucers.
Yeah. Well, everybody is, too many people are missing their slack, so
That's
uh,
exactly right.
they gotta get
This
that.
John Teeter guy, though, he
Yes. So,
definitely he definitely has zero slack.
oh yeah, no, yeah, he's on his pleasure craft probably now. We haven't heard from him in a long time, so he must be. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. What was it? He disappeared right around what 20 or 2011.
I think so. It's kind of been he's kind of popped in and out here and there since
Mm-hmm.
a couple years. So anyway, so he says he needs this IBM computer because there's a part in it that he needs to fix his time machine. And I don't remember what part it was, but he posted pictures of this time machine, and he's posted blueprints of the time machine, and a lot of things that were pretty believable. So obviously this got a lot of attention from people, and he's like, hey, I'll answer some questions, and so he does. And again, he mentions all kinds of things about what happens in the future and things like that, and I don't think any of it ever happened. I don't think there was anything he was right about, but
Well,
but
like I
that
said,
doesn't mean,
arguably he got his
right.
message across.
Exactly. Well, right. It doesn't mean that those things, couldn't have happened had without his influence, or maybe they happened somewhere else, just not here on this earth. But a very interesting situation. Now, some people believe that he is possibly, I mean, we could do a whole episode on this dude alone, but
Just on him, yeah.
so I'm not going to get into too much detail, but some people believe that he was possibly the creation of a Hollywood lawyer, an entertainment lawyer, and his brother, and they made some money off of this. There was a whole website. I think there's a book on it. Different things like that, but nobody really knows. So that's where we're at now. But he has not come back yet. I'd love to see him make a resurgence and tell us how he's doing and where he's been. I mean, again, he's probably been on his pleasure craft having a good time, so I don't blame him for not wanting to come back. But it is, nevertheless, it's still a very interesting story. And there was also like a woman that he had relations with or something. I don't know. I don't know. It's a big story, but
You gotta really, really love a woman if you're gonna go back in time for her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well,
Just
I mean, I
hopefully
don't
she felt
know.
the same way, you know? I mean, that's the important part.
It just depends. I mean, is time travel for them? Is it just like getting in your car and going down to the local Wendy's, or is it like a big event? I
Well,
don't
I mean,
know.
for the most part, yeah, it's generally more like, driving down to Wendy's, you know.
Right. So I mean, in that case, hell, I drive across different sides of town to get to my different lover. So I don't know. It's no issue for me to do that. So we'll see. But yeah, John Teeter, he was an interesting character. Um, Another person that I kind of want to talk about for a second, but not I don't want to get too much into because there's not a lot on it. Was the man from Torrid, and this guy in 1954 allegedly this guy was at the airport and he was in Japan, he was in Tokyo, and he was trying to board a plane and they looked at his passport and his passport said that he was from Torrid, and there's nowhere named Torrid anywhere in the world.
Right, and they brought out a map at one point
Yeah,
and asked him to point out where Torrid was on the map, and he pointed right in between Spain and Portugal.
it was oh god, I can't think of the name right now. I don't have
Somewhere, some European country though.
some European country, right? And he was very upset because he didn't understand why, in place of his country, Torrid was this other name. And he's like, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. This is ridiculous. He was like, wow, you guys are playing me for a fool. And insisted. He's like, I'm from Torrid. That's where I'm from. That's right here on the map. But your map is wrong. I don't know. So they put the guy up in a hotel room because they're like, well, we need to figure this out. Is this guy a spy? This is coming right off the curtails of World War II. This is 1954, and
Yeah, the Cold War
they're
was just getting into a good
right.
full swing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And so during that time, there's a lot of uncertainty, and so they weren't just going to let this guy walk. Well, they get him a hotel room, and then the next day they go to grab him, ask more questions, and he's not there. He's gone. So
Well, and because of course that's exactly what would happen if if you try to capture a time traveler.
sure, there's
So long as they've got like a personal means of conveyance,
as long as they have their
obviously
IBM card
5100, yeah, yeah,
5100, right?
yeah.
They
Or your what is it, personal time travel device, PTTD, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Those are like the watch style ones
Yes.
that make a little portal for you. Those are pretty cool.
Yes, exactly. Well, right. So there's a lot of question on whether or not this man was he from a different universe, or was he a time traveler, or so if he was a time traveler, he could be a time traveler from another universe, again, and that's a possibility. Now, the story, what's interesting about it is that it ended up being, a lot of people thought it was just one of those urban legends you tell on the internet, but it's not actually. It's documented in books, and numerous books from like the 1970s, and but that's about as far back as it goes. So people question the validity of it. Some people would assume that this would have been larger news had it actually happened, but why would it be? I mean,
Because yeah, honestly, if you're going to be the guy who stands up and says, "Yes, we were at the airport, we grabbed this guy, we put him
right,
in a holding cell, and then the next morning he was just fucking gone." Who,
right.
who are you, and what are you actually doing in the government to begin with? Because you're supposed to hush that shit up. Come on, guys.
Right. I mean, so yeah, yeah. So there's really no, there's no proof saying that he was there, and there's no proof saying that he wasn't. But there's more often than not, there's proof that he was. So, did this happen? It definitely could have, and who knows? It could have just been some criminal with a passport, and it could have been a practical joke.
Or
Well,
shit, somebody who is really way into LARPing.
it could have been. It
Yeah.
could have been.
I am from the country of Tarud. You will let me into my country. It's over here near this vague area of Europe. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Let me on the plane.
It was, you know, I don't know about the guy, but I mean, if he ever comes back and tells us about his travels, that would be really interesting.
Right. Then the first thing he needs to do is call out everyone who is at the airport who, detained him at that point. Like, look, all right, Officer Jones, Officer Barley, Officer McNasty, and the three obnoxious ladies behind the counter don't think I didn't think about you either. Yeah, yeah, all of you. You're all involved in this.
That's probably why he left. He's like, wow, these people are really dumb. I gotta get out of here. This is scary. It's dangerous. And he left. They did say that he had like a French accent or something. He was a white guy, but he had like a French accent or something like that.
Well, I mean, French people are kind of white.
I mean they're European, so yeah, they are.
Right, right.
But they were saying that, some people think that it could have just been that he was pronouncing whatever it was he was saying weird and they couldn't understand him.
Oh, with too thick of an accent?
Yeah.
That seems too convenient to me. He's definitely a time traveler.
I mean, it said on the passport where he was from, so it's like, well, I don't think you could.
Right, that's either it's either a really bad forgery or a really interesting authentic piece.
Yeah, exactly.
In either way, it needs to be in a museum.
And it is, but I think that's always a fun story. Again, it's just one of those ones we'll never solve that one unless he comes back and tells us who he is and why and what happened and where the fuck Torrid is. So I think that one was cool. And then of course you have like the simple ones, like you've got the what is it, the Charlie Chaplin lady, the babushka lady.
Yes. She's allegedly has a phone, and she's walking into the Charlie Chaplin premiere. This is at the early outset of video photography, I believe, at that point.
It was. It was one of the first instances of them like really, kind of recording. They're recording an event where they were premiering one of his films, and they're just recording the people. There's people there. They're just recording people walking into the theater and whatnot. And they see her walk by, and she's holding something up to her ear, and she's talking, but nobody's around her. And so a lot of people think that maybe she had a cell phone in her hand or something.
Right, unless you're talking to the mainstream media or in the government, who are like, oh no, it was one of those ear horn things from back in the day. Like, man, we know for a fact the ear horns are a Looney Tunes lie, and there's no way that is anything other than a cell phone. That lady is talking on a cell phone to somebody in the year 2832. Guaranteed. What's up?
I saw this like one point that was like talking about, let's say she does have a cell phone, right? Well, she's using a phone that obviously doesn't need a cell tower because there weren't any.
Right,
in the 1920s, so that was, kind of an interesting point. But, again, she's, definitely not here anymore. It's definitely not a hearing device. I mean, I looked at them from that time period. Those things are fucking big. They don't look like that. And who the hell would she be talking to? She's by herself. There's nobody around.
Well, the argument is that she's talking to somebody who she can actually hear from 15 feet away because it's an ear horn. But as I said, Looney Tunes bullshit.
Yeah, they're so good at doing their job that maybe. I mean, I don't know, but either way, that lady, that's a fun one because that's one that you could like see. That's you could look at that one with your own eyes and decide if it's something that you believe in or not. So, but let's kind of get into the fun stuff. Now you probably know a little bit more about these topics than I do, but let's get into the paradoxes.
Well, for sure. Before we do, though, I just kind of wanted to get some just a few little honorable mentions. We won't go through what they are about, but other former well-known time travelers, at least from Subgenius Records, former presidential hopeful Alexander Hamilton, also known as Mr. Bear Arms Hamilton.
Mr. Bear Arms, because he had bear arms, right?
Because he had and he was the guy who coined the term "the right to bear arms."
Yeah,
because he was bear arms.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, Dr. Emmett von Braun and his associate, that was Martin McFly, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And then another daring pair, William S. Preston and his friend Theodore Logan, were both famous time travelers. And then, of course, alleged fellow Subgenius and Simpsons creator Matt Groening is actually also allegedly a time traveler.
Well, we know that because the show...
Because of all of the, I mean, just the Trump stuff is
Right.
enough to prove that he was definitely from the future,
Yeah.
because those episodes came out in what, 2012, and then 2016 you've got that orange covered
Yeah.
president, hopeful at the time, wandering, or floating majestically down the escalator.
Yeah.
Majestically, yeah, well, anyway. But yeah, and that's just one of over 100 times that Matt Groening just kind of, yeah, hey, just in case you didn't remember, I'm a time traveler.
Yeah. Yeah. He is. And
But
we. Yeah.
actually, he's also the person who invented the "I am my own grandfather" paradox, which is not to be confused with the grandfather paradox. Now, if we would like to get into some of the bigger fun stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I like the I am my own grandfather paradox.
well, okay, and so we've got a couple of different types of paradoxes here that are all just fun in their own little ways. So you've got stuff like the first one I've got here is the predestination paradox, and that's basically a closed time loop. And what that means is that the event that started the time loop can't really be determined. So
Okay.
in this one, this is the should I kill Hitler
Okay.
problem.
Sure.
So the thing is if you go back and kill Hitler, and then you go back forward into your own timeline, well, now the you from that timeline doesn't know to kill Hitler. Wait,
Oh, because Hitler doesn't exist.
right. And then so you won't go back to do it again.
Ooh. Okay.
See? Yes. I went
Well.
back to stop an accident. Oh, wait, no, wait. That's the other way around. Oh, God, Tom. Okay, wait.
Time is hard.
It really is. And even though I understand the concepts here,
Yeah.
using the English language to
Yeah.
understand these things, sometimes it's a little bit difficult.
Like I said, when you don't
So,
have a graph and you can't show,
right, right.
it makes it that much more difficult. So it's what we're doing right now is probably a great feat, and we'll probably win the Nobel Peace Prize for doing this podcast.
Of course. But okay, here's where I messed it up. Okay, so predestination. So I hate Hitler, so I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to go kill Hitler before he becomes the leader of Germany.
Sure.
And so I go back in time and I walk up to Hitler and I'm like, ah, ich bin ein Berliner, you son of a bitch. Boom, kick him right in the nuts. And then I try to shoot him in the head. But for some reason, I miss. And then when I get back in time, it turns out that Hitler got pissed at some crazy dude who came up and said, I am from Berlin, and then kicked him in the nuts, and then immediately assumed that that person was Jewish, and then started the Holocaust, which makes you pissed and makes you want to go back and kill him. So what was the event that triggered everything? We at that point you don't really know.
Okay, sure, right.
So
because it could be you, or
it could be, maybe it was Hitler started this whole thing, or maybe it was me going back and finding out that Hitler, or going back to kill Hitler, and then only being able to kick him in the chones is what caused the time loop.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next one. You've got the grandfather paradox, which, like I said, not to be confused with the I am my own grandfather paradox. Yes. So, grandfather paradox. What happens when I kill my grandfather? I love my papa. He's an awesome guy. But if I go back in time and I go to the time before he and my grandmother had my dad, if I shoot him in the back of the head, then I will cease to exist.
Right.
But if that happens, I won't be able to go back in time to kill him, to stop him from being with my grandma, to make my dad to make me.
That's true.
At which point, I can go back in time to kill him so that he doesn't meet my grandmother and have my dad, at which point I can't be born.
Right. So
there's the grandfather paradox in a nutshell. Which is slightly different, as I said, from the I am my own grandfather paradox, which is what happens when I help make my father.
Yes.
And that's also known, it's the human equivalent of the bootstrap paradox, which is the next one I'll get into. But the slightly creepy nature of the I am my own grandfather paradox is just the creep factor alone in and of itself is the reason why it's only ever been explored in Matt Groening's Futurama. For
Okay.
further proof that he's a time traveler, because he understands the I am my own grandfather principle and warns us against it implicitly.
Do you think it's possible that he is his own grandfather?
Well, I think it's possible, but only if he's kind of a creep. And I've never met the guy before, so I can't tell you for sure if I think he would.
He seems like a nice guy. I guess I
Yeah.
don't put that on
And I
him,
mean,
so-
you know, he's giving us all these hints to time travel throughout his different properties, so I can't imagine him to be too bad a guy.
That's true.
You know, he's trying to keep you from doing weird shit like the bootstrap paradox, which is, I got this book from myself in the future. It's a book I will eventually give myself in the past.
Okay.
Or if George Lucas were to be a time traveler, and at this point in his life, he's got everything from 9 movies in the base storyline and all that jazz, and all the extra junk with Rogue One and all the other stuff, all of the licensing and merchandising rights just laid out before him in a big folder. He puts that folder under his arm. He walks back into the past, goes, "Hey, George, I've got this really cool thing for you." "Well, George, what's that?" And George hands himself in the past the book, the manuscripts of all of the Star Trek or Star Wars stuff. Star Trek.
Oh God, you're gonna.
Oh God, that's so much hate mail. I'm
that's
glad
fine.
I don't have an internet presence.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, but so he has handed himself all of this information to make Star Wars, even though that's the George Lucas in the past hasn't actually come up with any of the Star Wars stuff yet. So then at that point, young George Lucas takes the Star Wars franchise, makes it all up into this crazy big ass thing that it is, and you know, everyone and their brother is currently after the
Sure.
BB-8 or whatever. And oh no, wait, Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's the new thing. That's right. But then and then post Baby Yoda, George Lucas now looks upon his works, smiles, takes everything, puts it in the folder, and goes back in time and gives it to himself.
So he would
So
continue that cycle.
when was Star Wars actually written?
Well, that's true.
This is the question. It was never written. Actually, it was never written by George Lucas. It was written in Dobbstown, Malaysia, by our own sacred scribes.
That makes sense.
And then George Lucas went and stole it from us when he stole Time Machine number 732.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wow,
Dirty, rotten bastard.
people know now.
And then, so I've got this one last one. This one's kind of a weirder one. Okay, so this one's known as the Polchinski paradox. And this one's crazy. Okay, so I get in my time travel machine and I go back in time, and then I land the time travel machine right in front of myself so that I can't enter the time machine, so I can't go back in time to get in front of myself. So this one's similar again to the predestination paradox, only in reverse. So basically, and they just the way science likes to describe it is using a cue ball, right? Like off of a pool table. And then so you'll have a portal, one portal on the pool table, and then one directly above the portal that is on the pool table.
Okay.
So you shoot the cue ball forward into the portal, and then it shoots back and drops down in front of itself before the cue ball can go through, at which point both cue balls separate, and then neither of them went into the portal. So what happens next?
Uh-oh.
Right. Now we're in a real pickle. Because when you do that with people, now there's 2 of you,
Right.
but neither of you went back in time.
And you,
Except that you both went back in oh man.
and you
Wait a
can't-
minute. Ah.
You can't move at that point. You're frozen. So this, you gotta take that break for a second. And like,
Yep.
hold on.
Okay, 5 minutes of self-healing. Okay. Okay.
So about those black-footed ferrets. No.
See, actually, that's another possibility, though, with clones. Clones could actually technically just be a time travel duplicate, you know, your past or future self, come back or forward in time to be sharing the same general space and time. So at that point, technically, it would be the exact same Farah with the exact same life experiences, except for the 3 seconds worth of going forward or backward in time, or however much time.
But that 3 seconds can really make a difference.
Exactly. So they
So
could be entirely different people at that point.
still,
Yes, I was the black ferret that went through the portal. I am older and wiser, even though we are sharing the same time space.
yeah, I mean,
Which gets me into another concept:
sure.
time battling your past or future self.
Yes.
Now, the thing about time travel is that eventually you're probably going to run into yourself. You know, you think about, okay, well, shoot, what did I do 10 years ago that I really didn't want to do?
Right.
And then you go back and you fix it.
Right.
But then 20 years from then, you realize, oh shit, if I had done that the way I should have done, or the way I did it originally, my life would be better now. And screw what happened, what, 10 years? Yeah, 10 years ago
Sure.
at this point.
Sure.
So then you go back in time and undo what you did by getting into martial combat with yourself. So now you're caught unawares as you from 10 years in your future is trying to stop you from messing with yourself 10 years in the past. And then that poor son of a bitch doesn't even know what's going on at all.
Yeah.
And he's just watching two of himself get into a crazy gun battle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. Well, I think Family Guy did a really good episode on something similar where they continuously tried to go back and fix something, and then they kept running into other versions of themselves trying to go back and fix the thing, and it just was it got to the point where they were just like, fuck it, kill everybody, and they killed everybody, and it was fine.
And there it goes. And at a certain point, if there's too many yous in the room, maybe we should just kill everybody and start over.
Right, and just
you know,
start
we'll do the boot. We'll do the predestination. No, wait. We'll do the bootstrap parrot now. Which parrot? I don't even know which paradox I'm supposed to be using right now.
all at once, I
No,
think.
okay, so yeah, so the grandfather. We'll use the grandfather paradox. I'll kill myself, and then we'll start this whole thing over from scratch. And before I get into doing it, oh crap, I won't even be able to warn myself.
You can't. No, you can't. You can't go back.
See, so you need to have one person, or one of you, maybe the youngest you, jump back in time to right before you make your first jump, and then just bitch slap yourself. But then again, you're still having to worry about time battling yourself.
Well, or kill your original self and take the place of your original first self.
Yes, thus stopping the butterfly effect from ever happening in the first place. I like it.
Yes.
And Futurama did one of those too with the forward-only time machine. They were 5 feet higher than they, or 8 feet higher than they were to begin with, and then they accidentally crushed themselves and assumed the positions of themselves in that timeline.
That's right. Didn't they? They just continue to go forward until they kind of repeated time, isn't that what happened?
Yes, and that, yeah, time is cyclical. So technically, okay. Yeah. So there's multiple ways of doing time travel. There is the method done by Doctor Who and Marty McFly and Doc Brown, obviously, the forward and backward time machines. Those are the easier to get to where you're going, but it gets much more difficult and easier to really screw shit up with those.
Right.
With the forward only time machine, with time being cyclical, you'll go to the end and then just come back around to the beginning.
Yeah.
At which point you can roll down the window, shoot Hitler as you're getting out to 1945, and then roll the window back up, a la, once again, as Matt Groening said, and then miss and then shoot Eleanor Roosevelt instead. Sorry, Al. Don't worry, someone from Quantum will be there to fix that momentarily. Don't worry about it.
See you in the next cycle.
Right, exactly.
And then you just, well, right, and then so you would just continue going forward until you got to a point where you were pleased with, and then decide that that's where you would go. But if you fuck it up, you'd have to continue forward and try again.
Right.
But which is good though, that you get the do-over. But in all of these paradoxes, one thing I think that is left out a lot is creating that new timeline, completely new timeline. And so not in this universe, but creating another one creating another universe in its own right.
That's a little bit of a little bit of that comes in with the multiverse hypothesis.
Yeah, right.
Basically, what does that say?
Yeah,
Oh,
once
Back to the Future 2. Yeah, the alternate timeline thing.
right, once
Yeah,
you start
when Biff steals the time machine, or excuse me, when George Lucas steals the time machine, goes back and gives himself fucking Star Wars. The jerk. We still haven't figured out when he does it, so we can fix this timeline. That's our money, George. Give us our money back.
yeah,
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Time
um
travel makes me cranky.
yeah, he created. Oh well, it can. I mean, it's frustrating. You know, it's exhausting sometimes. Well, especially because then you got to start keeping track of what dimension you're in, where you're from. You know.
Right, right. And the thing is every time you change something, it changes everything after that. But if you go back and undo that, you don't necessarily undo all the things, all the ramifications of that effect.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And well, and then it's like, you know, even if you were to go back, you know, say you're going back in time and you're going to kill yourself in that time and replace yourself to kind of right the wrong. Then the issue though is that you now have the knowledge of like what's to come. So because you have that knowledge of what's to come, how can we say that you wouldn't then influence the outcome going forward? So, you know, and not on purpose, just because you have the knowledge that it will happen.
Well, and actually, there was William S. Preston and Theodore Logan actually very eloquently dealt with that in in their time travel escapades. They at one point realized that the only way to really figure out their own time travel mistakes and how to fix it was to go back and talk to themselves in the past. So at one point, they gave themselves this cryptic message about how they're going to save space princesses and then have everything ready for their high school science report.
Yeah.
And then later on, remembering that conversation verbatim, they took their as their future selves went back and then talked to their past selves once they got to that particular point.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you could really keep from really screwing up the timeline.
Yeah.
Is by doing it exactly the same way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to do it the exact same way. And so it's like, well, time travel is it's there's a lot to it. But again, if we well, when we get to the point when we perfect it, then we look at different possibilities of going further into our known universe, our observable universe, and maybe even beyond. You know, maybe then the observable universe can expand, and we can know, because then we can get to crazy places. You know, that's what. You know, a popular thing that people talk about is that if you go so many light years away because of the way light travels and you look at Earth from a telescope and you could see what's going on, you would see dinosaurs right now.
Okay, yeah. That's
Uh,
and then that principle in reverse. Once you've gone out that far, then coming back, that's when you get the damned dirty ape principle,
yes.
which is where because you only need to go like 100 years out,
Right.
light years out to see dinosaurs, but then coming back 100 years later, well, now you're 200 years your time, which is like, well, if going forward 100 gets you back 200 million, that means you've gone another 200 million. So roughly 398 million years will have passed technically on Earth
Right. And then
just by you taking a 200-year journey out into space.
yeah, basically, yeah. But that only applies if you are. So when we talk about aliens and aliens, you know, visiting the planet and you know some different things, those numbers and those years and that math only applies if you are getting into a not a manually powered vehicle, but basically, yeah. I mean, I guess just a regular. Just say that a spaceship was the same as a car, and you're traveling. Say you're traveling by car through space, then those rules apply. But those rules are different if you applied time travel to them, and then you could travel through. So, like, not only would you travel through space, but you could also travel through time to end up back where you originally started. I don't know if any of that makes any sense at all.
It made 100% sense, but I absolutely could not explain it back to you.
Yes. I mean, yes. And so it's it's just one of those things. Again, this is very, very difficult to explain without showing you what I'm talking
Indeed.
about. It is very hard. That's why graphs are very important in science.
Now,
But
and there are a couple of other things that I think people who are interested in time travel and maybe deciding now is the time to go to Dobbstown, Malaysia for that free introductory course in time travel.
yes,
Um, One other thing that you should really pay attention to is general repair and maintenance of your time vehicle.
yes,
The thing about time machines is if you're going back in time, your parts probably haven't been invented yet. So don't let the dinosaurs run romper stomper on your personal time
no,
travel device unless you want to go back forward the long way.
yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah, you would have to go forward then, and I mean, you'd get there, but it would take you a long time. At the very least, you could make a stop in the 1970s and pick up that IBM 5100, and
Allegedly. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, you
yeah.
might want.
We don't use the IBM 5100. The
Oh,
parts are too rare. See, actually, we I don't know if I even should be getting into this. We're more of the space saucer variety of time travel,
oh,
ship-based time travel.
okay.
That's they're invented by Zephram Cochrane. Time travel method employed is relativity, black holes, and special case wormholes. Very useful for space travel and travel to the future. Not particularly useful for traveling to the past.
Well,
Is what they generally say about it,
I
but
mean, that's clean energy, isn't it? I mean, there's
I mean,
no.
it depends on which version you're making it with. I mean, I personally like making mine out of dirty bombs, but that's just me. I mean, you can use Mr. Fusion if that's your thing,
Okay.
or if you're one of those crazy hippie types, you can go solar. But I mean, you need a lot of solar power. You need to be really sitting next to that sun for a couple of minutes before you get the kind of juice you
That's
need.
true. Well, and then you got to go further enough in the future to get your special space sun-sitting suit. Uh,
Right. No, for sure.
so
Yes, and your personal weaponry and gear should also be well maintained. I mean, I don't recommend people go out and buy guns, especially if you're planning on going back into the past. But if you're gonna take a gun into the past, make sure it's cleaned and serviced. Make
yeah.
sure you've got your ammo and make sure that the receivers and the slides and everything work just like they're supposed to. The last thing you want is to pull a gun on Hitler and have that thing click.
Oh yeah, that would
I
be
mean, because
so
and
embarrassing.
then he's gonna send the Gestapo after you, and then you're going to be called, the filth that needs to be cleansed from the Third Reich, and it ends up being a whole big thing. I've started World War III twice, and we don't really want that because then you have to deal with radioactive cockroaches, and let me tell you, they know how to bargain.
And listen, the time police don't like that shit either.
They
Once
really
you get
don't.
time for
They
it,
really don't.
those fees are expensive, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not worth the time to do all that. That's for sure. Just to fail at killing Hitler, it's just not.
That's right.
But those are some good tips. Anything else we should know about this workshop that's coming up in
The
Manhattan?
workshop.
In the Dobbstown workshop. I thought you said
Oh, 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 oh. No, it's not a workshop. It's actually a 16-year doctorate course. I,
oh,
I I introduced myself as Doctor Reverend Doctor Crimson Iculus.
that's
Yes.
true. That's true.
Yeah. I actually just got back from the year 2392, where the first year time travelers were respectedly added to the blah 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 something or other.
Okay,
But yeah, and I've got my doctorate in time travel, which I got before I finished the course, which is how you're supposed to do it. Um,
sure. Yeah.
yep. And then once you've traveled to the future to get your certifications, then you really only have to worry about time police and eventually destroying the unholy abomination of a time travel device that you've created, which we all end up having to do. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Once you're done time traveling, don't forget to destroy that motherfucker because people will take it. I mean, there are so many Biff Tannins in this world. You just don't understand. I kind of think that that's how Agent Orange managed to get himself at the 45 slot in the presidency.
Ooh, it could have been.
I
It
think
certainly could
he
have been.
went back. Went back with Matt Groening's time machine to 2016, killed himself, took his place, and that's where we got all those weird comments about I date my daughter, because technically it's not his daughter. His daughter's from the future.
Well, I was hoping for that. I am my own grandmother. I think.
if
Paradox.
if he could, you know what, more power to him. If Lord Dampnut can become his own grandmother by having sex with his daughter, more power to him. I mean, the Church of the Subgenius is very, very into inclusion of all types, but
Yes.
that's just weird. That's just weird. I don't even know where to start with that.
I don't know if there's a group for that yet, but there might be.
Well, technically, if there ever will be, then there already was.
Oh gosh, you're right. Damn
Right.
it, this time stuff. It's,
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know,
it's
there needs to be a support group for people who are dealing with time travel. There
yeah,
needs to be a different support group for people who are dealing with people who deal with time travel. And then there needs to be a third support group for people who have to deal with the people who have to deal with the people who are dealing about time travel. Because those people are a different class entirely as well.
that is probably that in and of itself is probably a paradox because you could go back in time when the time travelers first started showing up and create that support group, but if you were the creator of the time travel support group, ironically, you would never really probably get the support that you need as a time traveler.
Right, because every time you go back into the past, they won't believe you. Time
Yeah.
travel hasn't been invented yet. Blah, 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 blah.
Exactly. So
Well, you know, actually, there is one person who, relatively speaking, in the past would have been very cool with time travelers. He actually had a party. This was Stephen Hawking back in 2009
that's great.
in Cambridge. He sent out flyers the day after the party and just posted them everywhere. He sent them on the internet all across the globe. He pasted them. He had interns do it because, I mean, you know, he's wheelchair bound. But
Sure.
he had people posting signs up everywhere. Are you a time traveler? Meet me at this time in this place. And I've got the thing here somewhere. I'm gonna go there after I have to go back and talk to you to do the first podcast. But then immediately after that, I'll be going to this
Hawking.
event. I swear I've got it here somewhere, pretty close.
I can't believe I forgot about
There it is. Bam. Okay. You are cordially invited for a reception for time travelers hosted by Professor Stephen Hawking, to be held in the past at the University of Cambridge, Gonville and Caius College, Trinity Street, Cambridge. And just in case you don't know where that is, that's location 52 degrees by 12 by 21 north, and then 0 degrees by 7 by 4.7 east. This is 12 o'clock UT. What is that? Universal time, right? 12 o'clock Universal time, 28th of June 2009. No RSVP required. So I mean, it's cool. You can even come as you are. So the thing is after you've gone through, gotten your time travel device, gotten your time travel certifications in that order, because it has to be that way for whatever dumb reason, then you can go back and meet up with me. We're going to Hawking's place, and we're just totally gonna fuck with him. Okay, we're gonna tell him all sorts of crazy stuff. We're gonna tell him, first of all, that Planet of the Apes is a 100% true movie.
Yes.
And then when we go to the future and it turns out it's actually a robot apocalypse, then we'll deal with that and fix the timeline again later. But like I said, it'll be really it'll be really funny to see the look on his chair when we get up there and tell him that we're from the future.
It will. It'll be great. It was great. We know this already.
Yes, it was great, and we will have been there to do this already.
Exactly.
So
now, what
you
they
didn't
say,
hear
though,
about it because the government's really good at covering up time travelers at this point.
that's what I was gonna say. What they say is that nobody showed up to this party. But what they failed to acknowledge was that nobody showed up because, Stephen Hawking didn't have any friends. So
That is arguable. I have heard that he had many friends. It's just that they're the kind of friends who don't get together and throw wild keggers. They're
Yeah.
the kind that get together and have, very quiet chess tournaments where the loudest thing you'll hear is, yes. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was no chess at this event. Oh no, there wasn't. I mean, there was no chess at this event. So,
No, but there were hors d'oeuvres of quite a few different varieties and champagne,
champagne.
and the doors were thrown wide open uh, right at 12 o'clock,
Yeah,
and Hawking was just right there at the door. He had his best clothes on, and his shiniest wheels on
yeah.
his roller, and
He put
he
the
was ready to go. He
part
had a
right.
couple. He also had a couple of his colleagues who were studying time travel theory. He had them there just in case. He wanted to let them in on the joke, as it were.
Sure, sure.
Right.
I remember. Yeah, I was there. And it was fun. It was a good time. It was. It wasn't bad.
Right.
Some people got confused and started thinking it was some type of like singles mixer for time travelers, and things got strange. But
Well, I mean, and then we had to go back and fix it,
right, yes,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And then after the whole singles incident was over, and then the random 50 people who were all the same guy. I think it was
yeah.
that John Teeter guy. He actually showed up to
He
that
was there.
party and
Yes,
then got drunk all over himself.
yeah.
Drank well, there were like 12 of them, but they drank like 10 bottles
Well, they
of
were all trying to
champagne
outdrink each
themselves.
other, and that's where it just became a thing.
Right. And it's so the thing about running into your past or future self is that you can't get into an argument about yourself over who's better,
Right.
because technically you're equal,
You're
and
the same.
perfectly symmetrical violence never solved anything. Okay? You know what your moves are. So when
So
you get into the fist fight, you're just going to be punching your own hands.
yeah, so right. So we ended up, we went to this thing, and that's why no that's why they say nobody showed up, is because, it just ended up being such a fucking ordeal that we had to keep going back and fixing it. And, so at one point we stood outside and prevented people from going in just to stop it from, continuing. So
Right,
you
right.
guys are very welcome for that, because you don't want 12 drunk John Teeters around.
No, no, you really don't. Because then he starts talking about why he went back to the year 2000. Not just It wasn't just to pick up that IBM 5100. It was for the girl. I mean, come on, man. I was an idiot and I went to college for a girl. But I mean, going back in time, dude, you are just
That's a whole
dude.
extra
There's other girls out there. I mean, maybe not in the the what is it, World War III Civil War that John Teeter was
yeah.
describing, in from 2032 or whatever. But the 2012 Mayan calendar didn't explode, so we're fine. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it, man.
right.
Just go find someone else. Fix the timeline, and then go find someone else.
Yeah. I just don't think we knew how, so I don't.
Yeah, well, yeah. Some people can't get out of the past.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. So anyway, that was no, that was a good. I forgot about that party. That was a good addition there. I like that.
Why? Thank you.
I don't think I have anything. Do you have anything else you'd like to cover for the people?
Well, no, not really. I mean, like I said, just remember, time travel is really fun until you really start thinking about it.
It is, yes.
The the
Yeah,
the, the less you think about it, the cooler it is.
that's very true. With that being said, guys, we will go ahead and end the show there. Remember to time travel responsibly, and we will see you next Wednesday.